You learn to enjoy today and your life today because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Well, good morning and welcome to a new year and the first podcast of 2022, the Art of Ronin Leadership podcast. I hope all of you had a wonderful holiday season and that you got to spend some time with friends and family, considering last year that was not a possibility for a lot of people due to the COVID situation at the time. But I hope this podcast finds you all safe, happy, healthy, having enjoyed the holidays, and hopefully you got some downtime to rejuvenate and get into it for the new year. My wife Janice and I just came back from a workout, so we're feeling very good, very energized, and I'm very happy to be back podcasting here after the holidays. Before we go further, again, we appreciate all of your feedback. If you like the content that we're putting out, please hit the subscribe button on the screen, and also please pick up a copy of The Art of Ronin Leadership. You can find it on MikeHowardAuthor.com, on Amazon.com, and we're also working on an audiobook. That's a longer process, but really appreciate the feedback on the book. And of course, I always encourage anybody who's read the book, if you so feel inclined, to go on to Amazon.com and The Art of Ronin Leadership and leave a review there. I think those are very helpful. Those of you who have left reviews, I really appreciate it. I want to thank you in public for taking the time to write a review and give the public your thoughts about the book. So thank you very much. I was trying to think about topic for today, and a good friend of ours, Mike Davis, who is a Fox 5 reporter, and I interviewed him for this podcast not too long ago with some Vespers. It was an evening podcast, so that was a lot of fun. And prior to that, earlier in 2021, he came over with his crew, and they interviewed me for a segment on Fox 5. So we really we have a really great relationship, and he gave us a book to read because he's an avid reader like we are, and I started reading it over the holidays. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked, the Japanese Phenomenon That Shows You How to Change Your Life and Achieve Real Happiness by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. This is the book right here. And on the back of it talks about discover why unhappiness is something you choose for yourself. Life is not a competition. Admitting fault is not defeat. What real freedom is. How to exist in the present. How you can be happy now. And so much more. I'm about halfway through the book. I would highly recommend it. It's a really great read. But it got me thinking about something that I think is fairly similar to a lot of the tenets in this book. All of you know I'm a great fan of the late General Colin Powell. I was very honored, as you know, some of you know, to have been able to introduce him as a speaker at a conference of chief security officers years ago, and it was one of the big highlights of my life, since he's been an idol of mine in terms of how he came up with his tenets of leadership, his 13 rules of leadership, and how he practiced it and executed those rules throughout his career. Sort of by way of history, when the general was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he kind of formulated these 13 rules. He kept them on the 3x5 cards on his desk to refer to, which became the basis of a book. And all the tenets that he has are wonderful, all the 13 rules. But one that kind of stuck with me when I was reading this book is it'll look better in the AM. It'll look better in the morning. And this is a great leadership lesson for people because as a leader, you have obviously enormous responsibility for driving the programs of your particular enterprise that you work for or that you own, if you own your particular company, to drive and execute for success. You have personnel issues, budget issues, emergency issues, things that are just going to crop up in the normal conduct of business. And especially not only do you have that, right? And that in itself is enough stressors on you to give you pause, right? And at times maybe ruin your day at times. Now we have, the specter of COVID, and COVID obviously kind of goes up and down. You have the Delta variant, and at the time we're doing this podcast now, the Omicron variant is out there and doesn't seem to be as severe in terms of, what happens to you when you get it, but it's more contagious. We know a lot of people, friends that have it currently right now or have had it. It's putting a strain on enterprises and businesses because short-staffed as it was with what they call the Great Resignation, when we got through the initial phase of the pandemic and people did not come back to work. So companies are scrambling to find qualified workers, not just large enterprises, but small and mid-sized businesses as well. And so that puts a strain on you. Now you've got Omicron, which is kind of decimating the ranks. So, people are short-staffed, as it were. So you have that. You have inflation right now that has arrived. So prices are higher for everything, which puts a strain on the economy. So you have economic issues. You have political tensions within the country. Political divisions that are not just in Washington, but it hits home. I was watching the news over the holidays, and there was a piece about a survey that was done of college students around the country, and I guess the question was basically, would you date someone that had diametrically opposed political opinions from you? And I don't have the stats right now. You could probably, Google it, or because I'm former Microsoft, you can Bing it and find the study. But there were a significant amount of college students that would not date somebody that had diametrically opposed political opinions. So if you're a Democrat, you wouldn't date a conservative and vice versa, which obviously is very strange to me because college is supposed to be where you are supposed to have diametrically opposed points of view and you debate them rigorously as part of gaining and growing your intellectual prowess, as opposed to being closed off and saying, well, no, because you believe in XYZ you're this, or you believe in ABC you're that. And that's very narrow-minded, in my opinion, in terms of focus, and is completely opposed to what college should be. But that's another subject. But again, that's a microcosm of the division that you have within the country. So you've got that as well. So there are a lot of pressures weighing on leaders in addition to what they have to do in their own business milieu, their own business world. And at times, you can think about those and dwell about all of this that happens day after day after day after day. But with the book I'm reading now, what Colin Powell was trying to get across is that I think that the main issue is, as leaders, you can be cognizant of things that have happened in the past, whether a business issue or just the pressures of the day on you and your team. I mean, what the past happened yesterday. I'm doing this podcast on a Thursday. Wednesday happened. and whatever things happen, good or bad, on Wednesday existed. So you can't negate that. It exists. But what you own is how you deal with circumstances and live in the here and now, and also your attitude towards the future. So there's two things I want to get across today very quickly. Number one, as leaders and as human beings, try as much as possible to live in the present. Not only am I a Christian, but I'm also a follower of Stoicism, and it's really interesting. I alluded to this a little bit in previous podcasts. In Christianity, there's the thing about don't worry about the verse that says don't worry about today, for tomorrow will have its own worries. And that God will give you what you need for this particular day. When they say give us this day our daily bread, it's daily bread. It's not weekly bread or monthly bread or yearly bread. It's daily, and that's for a reason. Today is the day, right? And this is a day that you should rejoice and be glad, as they say, right, in the Bible. And with Stoicism, it's the same thing. It's living in the present. And a big part of that is you never negate the problems. In Stoicism or Christianity or whatever, the problems exist. They're all around you. There are some problems you can control, and there are some problems you can't control. The things you can't control, you need to put it in this little bucket saying, I can't control it. It exists. I acknowledge it, but I'm not going to worry about it. The stuff I can control, what am I going to be able to do to mitigate those particular problems, right? Whether for your team, if it's business, for something else, for your family, or whatever. So that's kind of one thing. You control what you can control, and you live in the present. And one of the things about living in the present is that it becomes, if you practice it consciously, it becomes a mindset, right? And so we all know situations in our lives where maybe somebody was taken away from us too soon. Janice and I both lost spouses who ostensibly could have lived many, many years, but they didn't. And when you go through that, it gives you pause, and it does help you to refocus on enjoying today. So we enjoy every day we enjoy each other's company. And even though there may be stressors throughout the day that happen, the roof leaks or something happens, that just kind of, it's an inconvenience. You learn to enjoy today and your life today, because tomorrow's not guaranteed, right? There are countless stories here in Las Vegas, because unfortunately we have a bad problem with drunk drivers. And there have been several incidents in the last couple of months where an innocent person was hit by a drunk driver and killed. Now, when he or she left their house and left their family, they just figured it's going to be another normal day, and unfortunately, they didn't come back, right? And so we hope, obviously, that nothing like that happens to any of you, but the reality of it is it can. And so, whether it's Stoicism, Christianity, or Colin Powell saying it will look better in the AM, part of that is to live today in the now and enjoy today. Whatever stressors come your way, deal with it. But enjoy what you have today. If you're healthy, enjoy that you have health. If you got some health issues but you're still alive, enjoy that you're alive. If you have friends and family, it's not living in the clouds all the time, but throughout the day, just kind of think about the fact that I have friends and I have family, and they care about me and they love me. There are people in this world that don't have anybody. They're lonely, or they're homeless, or they're addicted, or they're depressed, or any number of things. They're going through a divorce. Whatever it is, there's enough good in your life that you can think on those things, right? If you're constantly thinking about negative stuff, then that's how your whole frame of reference daily is going to be. If I love the news like anyone else, and I don't bury my head in the sand. I'll make sure I get my news from various news sources. So I'm not just a Fox News guy or MSNBC guy or CNN or BBC. I try to get a little mishmash of everything, and just kind of figure out for myself what's going on out there. But if you listen to the news constantly, you will be depressed, because their whole idea is to get you to watch. And so they're never going to tell you about anything positive going with COVID-19 for the most part. Every so often they will. They'll always tell you all the negative stuff about everything, or politics, or this or that. So you have to temper what you hear in the world with gratitude for the things that are going right in your world and what you have, right? And that's a big part of leadership, because your teams are looking to you for leadership. Guess what, sports fans? They're going through the same things you are, maybe worse, depending on their family situation or what's going on. And so you have to lead by example, and that's an old cliche, but it's true. You have to lead by example by making sure that your frame of reference is correct, and that your team will see that no matter what happens, A, you don't take it out on them, and B, you maintain a positive attitude, can-do attitude, and that and by practicing this idea of living in the now, be present and enjoy the things that you have today. It'll make it, you'll be an example for them as they grow as leaders and they have their own direct reports. But if they see you always cranky, always upset at every given thing that comes down the pike, it doesn't mean you won't get upset. You're not a robot. There are times when you will display anger. Why the heck did this happen? And blah, blah, blah. But that should be a one-off. That shouldn't be every single situation that happens. All right? And it's a conscious decision on your part how you approach problems, whether ongoing or then ones that just fall into your lap as soon as you come into the office at 7, 8, or 9 o'clock in the morning. So that's kind of one aspect of It'll Look Better in the AM, or the book I'm reading. I think the other part of it that General Powell was trying to get across is that tomorrow is a new day. The same problems with the economy, division in the country, COVID, still going to be here tomorrow, Friday, right? But if you can change and switch your perception to it will look better tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow the rate of infections goes down. Maybe tomorrow the stock market bounces back up. Maybe tomorrow somebody who's been sick gets better, right? Maybe tomorrow you hear from somebody, a family member, a friend you haven't heard for a long time, and someone you've missed. There's always something tomorrow that is going to be a good thing. You have to look for it. If you seek the negative, that's what you're going to see. It's all perception, right? But if you seek positive things, it will look better in the AM, as the general meant. Part of that also was as a leader, you don't want to be burdened with the same crap you're going through today for tomorrow. You don't want to carry that into tomorrow. You may have to deal with it tomorrow because you weren't able to solve the situation today, you and your teams. But certainly you can reframe your mind, reframe your focus and your perception so that same problems are there, but guess what, sports fans? It's a new day to find a solution, a new day to tackle this issue, a new day to find opportunities, a new day to find new challenges, right? So that you can reframe all of that. The problem that you have could lead to some solution you hadn't thought about before, right? you get stronger through adversity. At a sort of at a micro level, when you work out, when you lift heavier weights, or when you push your body harder, when you're doing HIIT or running or whatever your thing is, it stresses the body. It's not always pleasurable. It's hard. But those things make your body stronger, make you better, right? And so going through those types of activities, though it can be unpleasant at times, the end result is you're healthier, you feel better, you look better, and you can go longer, especially as a leader. I'm always a proponent of leaders being in some kind of shape or trying to exercise, move the body, because there's enough stressors in this world as it is as a leader. Keeping your body in shape helps you be able to tackle those challenges better. You can work longer hours. You're more mentally sharp, right? You have more stamina. So, but that's at a micro level, right? At a macro level, you get hit with stuff, something that comes out of the blue, or some situation that's affecting the conduct of your business, and it's a pain in the ass. You don't have to deal with it. Why did it happen to me or my organization? But you deal with it, you go through it, you learn lessons from it, obviously. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But at the end of the day, you and your team come out stronger because you've had that experience. Back when I was Chief Security Officer at Microsoft, there was a period of time when it just seemed inevitable, like 2-3 holidays in a row. There was, like one time I remember, I think it was in Arizona on a holiday, whether it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, something happened in the world where we had to put together an incident management team virtually and kind of triage this thing and work this thing while I'm on vacation. And it happened, a couple times. But you get stronger as a team by doing that. You get better, sharper, right? You sharpen the sword, sharpen the blade. So the next time it happens, you have that experience under your belt, and you can be better at managing that crisis. Your team can be better at managing the crisis. Even though it was a pain in the butt having to get away from your vacation stuff to deal with it, A, that's your duty, right? And B, again, going through that crucible makes you better. And it will get better. It will look better in the morning. And so I think those are the reasons why I'm really enjoying this book, The Courage to be Disliked. The reason why I like that particular rule from Colin Powell about it will look better in the AM, because it will. And there's enough of a burden, leadership, on you anyway. As a leader, you have enough burdens that are real, that are tangible, that you have to deal with and your team have to deal with, as well as all the other external things I talked about earlier. How you perceive that particular problem today, and how you can look for the good things that are happening to you today, and then how your attitude is for tomorrow. Tomorrow will look better. And then when you get to tomorrow, you live in that moment. You deal with the situations that come about, but always look for the things you can be thankful for. And I think if you can reframe your mind, your consciousness, your spirit to think like that, and it's not easy, it's not easy. It's a conscious effort. You'll find yourself being a lot more calm when you're in the midst of something bad happening. But being able to, even if it's 1 or 2, 3 things that you can find throughout the day to be grateful for, it will really help out a lot, and it will really make your day better. And we can all find that. I've been taken to an app that has gratitude, and I write down a couple things a day that I'm grateful for. And again, it's kind of reframing the mind. Now I'm retired. I don't have quite the stressors that I did when I was in a big enterprise like Microsoft running global security as the CSO. But I've taken it upon myself to podcast. I'm rating myself to write another book. I've got some different other activities going on, boards and stuff like that. And so I've got enough to keep me busy, and there are occasional stressors that go with that, not many. But I find that by consciously focusing on positive without negating the reality of the negative around you and the problems around you, because we don't want your head buried in the sand, it will indeed make you a much better leader. So that's kind of what I want to leave with you today. Kind of short and sweet, but it just kind of struck me as something that leaders should be practicing. Something that I think Colin Powell was trying to get across to his leaders as he was, running the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was responsible for all the military services, and I'm sure, knowing the general from reading all his books and listening to him, he's thinking about those subordinate officers, especially in the field. Your lieutenants and your captains and folks like that in the Army that are directly supporting their troops, and the troops are looking to them for leadership. And so, being able to think to yourself as leader, no matter what happens, whether it's a battle situation or a business situation, it's going to look better tomorrow. It gives hope to you first, but it gives hope to your team. And your team, especially in today's world, they need to have hope. This is unprecedented times in terms of all the chaos going on in the world. There's always been chaos. It's just the way of the world. But in our lifetime, having something like COVID and the pandemic is, who would have thought, 2-3 years ago, we'd be going through this and still going through this, and how much it has affected our lives and continues to affect our lives, and how much a division it's caused in the country that was divided anyway, and add the politics and then economy and blah, blah, blah. So you as a leader, look at these things as an opportunity to showcase your leadership chops by staying positive, by working through the problem in a positive manner, by imparting to your teams that it will look better tomorrow, by living in the now. It's not just for you and your teams, but also for you and your friends and family and for yourself. Because you're no good to anybody if you're stressed out, if you're worried about tomorrow to the point where it becomes more of a negative emotion than a positive, and you don't look forward to tomorrow. That attitude will translate it somehow to your troops, to your team. So just remember that, and I think I think it'd be a great exercise for you in 2022 to see how you can reframe yourself, reframe your mind, reframe your attitude. There are some of you that are doing this already, and I'm glad, I'm happy. There may be some of you that haven't really thought about this, and you should think about it and give me some feedback on what you think I said. If you think it's BS, tell me it's BS. If you think you gleaned anything from it, let's have a conversation. Love to hear your thoughts on it. So that's all I have for this edition of the Art of Ronin Leadership podcast. It's always great to get in front of you and talk. We've had some guest speakers, and we've got a slate of guest speakers coming up. I think you'll enjoy. And again, when you get the chance, hit the subscribe button so that we can continue to grow our subscribers. Again, make sure you pick up a copy of The Art of Ronin Leadership, whether it's on Amazon or MikeHowardAuthor.com. We'll make sure we get it to you. Give us feedback on the book as well. Please take the time, if you're so inclined, to write a review on Amazon. So we'll get back at it next week. Please have a great rest of your week. Stay positive, and remember, it will look better in the AM. Thank you very much, General Colin Powell, and thank all of you for listening.